is not Biafra, Oduanism, or tribal conflicts that will divide Nigeria. Rather, it is the permission of Sharia law without true federalism. The Islamic terrorists are fighting to Islamatize Nigeria at the expense of our own Christian faith. Yet here we are debating on Christian genocide. So they say, why are they killing Muslims along with the Christian? But the answer is simple. The answer is collateral damage. Yes, collateral damage. At every war, there's always a collateral damage. So every Muslim caught in the crossfire becomes a collateral damage. That's the scope of the Islamic terrorists. The goal of Islamic terrorists is not to eradicate Muslims, but to eradicate Christianity and every other religion to establish the reign of Islam. The bigger picture of Boko Haram and Nasra is the Nigerian government to take control of the federal government and establish Sharia law against the will of the Christian. And the more they grow, the better their chances. And if the jihadist goal is to establish Sharia law in a secular state, isn't that a goal to annihilate Christian? Here is the unreasonable compromise in Nigeria. The Sharia law in the north is not being enforced on non-Muslims. And Igbo Mansop was recently entitled by the ruling of Sharia law before it was later reversed by the intervention of the government. That proof the main goal of enforcing Sharia law in a secular state is not only being conceived by the terrorists alone. The killing of the Igbora was negative effect of Sharia law. The right to Sharia law by the northern states without true federalism at a time where Islamic bandits appear as killer headsmen in some major Christian states without state law or state police is a prejudice against Christian, and this injustice is an enabler of Christian genocide. Listing without true federalism, where there's state law, state police, and each state controlling its resources, the conflict of interest and religion crisis may sink our nation. Let's think twice about the direction of our nation.
Tinubu, put your 2027 ambition aside. Call for a referendum geared towards regionalization. And I bet you 50% of your problems will be solved. But you no go listen, because your problem is also you want to be the president. You want to continue as the president. But can you be a president when the country doesn't exist anymore? Keep quiet about this. I am done calling you to intervene in regards anything or whatever, because as far as I'm concerned, there is absolutely nothing you can do. I am telling you. And the fact is, I'm not even saying this out of my own. Let's look at the interventions you people are planning to intervene now. Is it not a joke? What are the Senates? How are the Senates thinking? What are they drinking? Calling for 100,000 men to be recruited into the army. For decades, you have succeeded in decades, you have succeeded in recruiting 170-something thousand in the army. All of a sudden now you want to perform the magic of recruiting 100,000, right? And once you have done that, you believe the whole issue will be addressed. Or I don't know how you are thinking. And are we talking about the same army that you have repentant Boko Harams in them? Are we equally talking about the emphasis that the men you have still use their money to buy uniforms, boots? Are we talking about the military that even their feeding allowance to get to them is the problem? Are we equally talking about a lot of shady corrupt issues? And nothing has been done in that regard. And let's face it, what 2 million men cannot do, basic technology can do. Looking at what is going on now, the armed forces is still operating the 1980s method of operation. That is to say, and we are talking about fighting a guerrilla warfare here. But you still believe in acquiring hillocks, loading people's children inside, sending them, leaving them in the bush, or whatever you believe that is what to address. It's not a game of number. It's not about number. It's all about technological advancement. Looking at the testament of that lawmaker that came out to talk about what progress they have had during Jonathan when mercenaries were employed. You heard him saying that there will be like just 10 in the room with their technological gadgets seen everywhere. And once they have noticed they have gathered enough intels, they go on their chopper and all of a sudden within 2 hours they are back. Neutralize all the radical elements and come in with picture evidence. But what do we have? All we just see is just headlines. The Air Force have bombarded so. The Air Force have bombarded so. While they are bombarding so, they are picking a brigadier general. And I want to ask the senior officers, how do you feel when they tell you that this is a brigadier general lying there, captured by miscreants that are tantamount to nothing? Well, let's just keep deceiving ourselves And at least the last time I checked, Forest Guard was also deployed. I think part of what they do is once an issue is presented, they present methods that will just resort to allocation of resources, and all of a sudden the sharing formula starts and nothing more. Well, to the US again, all hope lies on you as well. Nigerians are counting on you. Downplay it, don't mean it, or whatever. But at the end of the day, your intervention or not, your intervention is quite important. But if it doesn't, at least Nigeria will get to that state of lawlessness, and it will affect the globe on a higher proportion. So keep denying there's no genocide. I think the attack in the church was not a farmer headers clashes, and the picking of the 25 girls in Kebbi too was farmers headers clashes, right? So let's just keep debunking, keep recruiting men, keep sending them. Let your ministers be doing the job of saying that doesn't exist while you people lack capability. But at the end of the day, there must be a country for there to be a president. But most importantly, I am telling you, when you regionalize, 50% of your problem is over. Regionalize with referendum. Seriously. But if you think it's a joke, well, the fact is at this point in time, actually, Nigerians don't even care about whoever is intervening as far as there's going to be an intervention, because the government is clueless at this stage. And are we even going to be talking about what is expected of them to do? What happened to open grazing? Up till today, you still have headers roaming up and down. What happens to those radical aspects of the political Sharia that is introduced, that is at loggerheads with the constitution? Why are you not talking about it? It's not an issue, right? It's not too important. That is not the problem. What happens to...
Where I am right now, it's a village, once very prosperous village, that belonged to the Adara ethnic nationality, who are basically Christians. The name of this place is called Kujeni, and is in Kajuru County in Kaduna State. This place is part of the Middle Belt because they identify as the ethnic Christians of northern Nigeria, fall in the Middle Belt. It is impossible to imagine the life that was here. These people have been living here peacefully for centuries, and around me, though you could see some ruins still standing, this used to be a very dense community, highly populated with schools, with churches, with playgrounds, and everything that will make a village community happy. But today, you wouldn't believe that there were ever structures here. What the villagers do now, after they have been chased out severally, until they could no longer hold to defend themselves, they had to leave the village. The ones that you may be seeing around just come around to tend to the farm produce that they farmed during the rainy season. Luckily for them, the Fulani herdsmen, who have been their perpetual tormentors, have not eaten up these crops like we have seen in other places. This Kujeni is about 80 miles southwest of Kaduna metropolis. It is now an empty space, and it's not only this place. Coming here is quite a big security challenge. We had to pass through a lot of military checkpoints on the way, and we had to persuade them to leave us. But apart from that, there are many other communities. In fact, from what have been listed to us, there are over 52 of these communities, and they include Kujeni Duse, Kwakwari, Kakuku, Ongwom Puda, Ongwom Madaki, Ongwom Barde. I've been to Ongwom Barde. It was the first place that the Fulanis launched attack in 2019 and killed 11 people. The place has been sacked now. There's also Gindingada, there's Itisi, there is even Ivana Turu, among many others. These are largely Christian communities that have been displaced. We heard that, of course, it's true, that the governor of Kaduna State, Ubasani, had granted these bandits, these Fulani herdsmen, the armed militia of the Fulani wing, what he calls state pardon and amnesty, and in fact integrated them into society by rehabilitating them, including complete Medicare for the repentant, so-called repentant bandits. But as villagers will tell us, there is nothing like repentance among them because they have not been able to return to their homes. Almost 2 years since Governor Obasanjo granted them that amnesty. So the villagers are very excited with the announcement by Trump that Nigeria is now a country of concern. So I have come here to make on-the-spot assessment if it is true what government have been claiming, that the amnesty granted the bandits has resulted to the return of displaced villagers. There is nothing like that. There is no welfare for them. There is still no sufficient security for them. In fact, as we go around, you'll be hearing it from the horses' mouth themselves.
How did we get here? How did we get here? So far, over 180,000 Nigerians killed in an outright genocide against Christians, about 125,000 Christians in the last 20 years, and about 80,000 moderate Muslims, mostly the Hausas, who do not possess radical ideology, like the Fulani terrorists. How did we get here? The simple answer is this. That name, Muhammadu Buhari, that wicked man called Muhammadu Buhari, he was the chief enabler of all these things. First of all, let me tell you something. You know, in our climb, when you begin to talk about people who have passed on, a lot of people begin to want to say, no, we shouldn't delve too much on people who have passed on. But that is not true, because there will be no history if we don't talk at the past of the past and of people who have passed on. There will be no history. That was what we knew about Nebuchadnezzar. That was what we knew about Adolf Hitler. Adolf Hitler had passed even before my late dad was born. But that was what we knew about him. That was what we knew about Idi Amin. We knew about Benito Mussolini, Pol Pot, Augustus Pinochet. You know, that's what we knew about Osama bin Laden. He has passed before my son was born. My son was born in 2013. Osama bin Laden was killed in 2011. But on September 11 this year, they took the whole day teaching these kids about 911 in schools in America. My son came back home, and throughout that day, he was watching the documentary of 911. He was watching the documentary, and he had very uncomplimentary remarks about Osama bin Laden. That's exactly what happened. Buhari, very wicked man, Muhammadu Buhari. Look, he was the first person who initiated the idea of Nigeria going to OIC, but he was overthrown, and then Babangida just completed what he started by registering Nigeria in the Organization of Islamic Conference. About 20 years ago, or 25 years ago, it was Buhari who said, by God's grace, they will make Nigeria, the whole of Nigeria, Sharia compliant. The same Muhammadu Buhari. And when he came up to contest for president, he contested 6 times. Look, his ally, he's one of his most trusted lieutenants. That man from Kano, who was once head of Nigerian Maritime Authority. His name, I just forgot his name now. You know, that man that is with Rabiu Kwankwaso right now. He said, in 2003, the idea of Muhammadu Buhari coming for presidency is just to protect the Fulanis and to promote Sharia. The channel interview is there. Show on Politics Today. He said it. So some of us never saw this coming. We did not see this. And so in 2014, I don't know whether I was stupid or I was naive or I was just being completely ignorant of history. I drove myself to the first bank in Gwarimpa, First Avenue, and deposited 20,000 naira in the account of the Buhari organization for his campaigns. 20. And I contested for APC. I won the House of Reps of APC, Makudi Guma, House of Reps ticket of APC in December of 2014. Although it was hijacked, my victory was hijacked, but the 2.5 million naira I paid into APC account in Zenith, Gwarimpa, that year, to purchase that form, all went to the campaign of Buhari. And then I paid my 20,000 naira again to the Buhari Foundation. The other person I knew in Benue who has done that is Professor Stephen Akuma, who has paid money to the Buhari Foundation because we believe so much. We believe that, look, Buhari has the wherewithal to tackle the security challenges in Nigeria. At that time, it was only Boko Haram and few of his headmen killings here and there in Benue. We're able to tackle it on our own. But you see, the first red flag came when this guy started promising hell if he doesn't win the presidency. A contestant to a president promising that the dog and the baboon will be soaked in blood. In blood. A presidential candidate saying that. That's metaphor. It's not the literal dog and baboon. The metaphor. It's a metaphor for we humans. The whole country will be soaked in blood. We didn't see this. And then the next thing, the guy opened the border of his state of Katsina and Sokoto and brought in his kinsmen from Niger, from Burkina Faso, thousands of Fulani warriors, fighters, getting ready for his victory. So that if there's no victory, they're going to just collapse Nigeria. And then he won. And then the next thing, those guys were stationed in Nigeria. They couldn't go back. And El Rufai took so much billions to go and give many of them. And they still were not contended. And they stayed back in the forest. And that was the beginning of the height of this nuisance that we're witnessing in Nigeria today. These are the same Fulanis that have just scattered themselves in all the forests in Nigeria today with every imaginable and unimaginable arm, going after our people. So without Buhari, Yorata could not have happened. It was Buhari who came in his presidency from 2015 to 2023. He dedicated his whole life trying to get land across the country for the Fulanis. He started with Ketu Colony. You know what colony is? Where you once a British colony. So the colony of the Ketu, that's Fulani taking over your land. And in all this, he will be picking states in, the Christian dominated states. In Benue, there's going to be in Plateau, there's going to be one southern eastern state. What happened to Sokoto state? What happened to Katsina? Then he went to Ruga. A lot of people forgot that Ruga is really a Fulani word for the Ketu colony. So I see a lot of people writing Ruga in bold letters, thinking it's an abbreviation of something. That's a Fulani name for a Ketu colony. And then when that fell, he went to Ketu reserves, everything about reserving this for Fulani. When it failed, he now went on. He brought in something called the Water Resources Bill. That Water Resources Bill said all the water bodies in Nigeria, every river in Nigeria, River Benue, River Niger, some of these other smaller rivers, River Katsina, from the river bank to 5 kilometers from both sides of the river bank, will be under the control of the Fulanis, the federal government, to be given to the Fulanis. So, because even up to now, these people come through the rivers to strike, so that they'll be well positioned to be striking all these towns across Nigeria. If you remember last year, those of you in Makodi, last year, the former chief of staff to Governor Otom, Tewas Obunde, his wife was kidnapped, and they used the boat to transfer her to an island. And even when they were paying the ransom, they had to go through the sea, through River Benue, to an island somewhere where Fulanis were gathered. So it was Buhari who caused all these things. During Buhari's presidency, we witnessed proliferation of terrorist groups in Nigeria. It was there that Ansaru was born, that Lakurawa was born, that Fulani terrorists heightened, that other terrorist groups, even ISWAP, came to Nigeria. The guy committed his entire life for the cause of the jihad. And a lot of people begin to say, oh, Lord, the guy was good. He has some Christians working with him. Look, go and study the history of Pharaoh. Pharaoh has a lot of Jews working with him. He has Joseph. He has even Moses. But unlike some of these Christians, even some of these thieves, we have some thief who work with them. So he lost it because one or two thieves were running logistics for him. And so what? A lot of people, even Adolf Hitler had some Jews that he spared, like Edward Bloch, the doctor of his mother. Even Osama bin Laden had people who were running logistics from Christians. He had Christian engineers, Christian arms dealers, And so what if you have thieves? And at best, those thieves were just cowards or hypocrites or even sellouts, traitors. Because they couldn't even advise the guy. The guy was just on rampage to finish us. And look, when Yerota happened, it became his nemesis. Because when Yerota happened on June 13, the Pope reacted immediately and prayed in Rome during his Angelus on Sunday. His Angelus prayer, and prayed and called for justice. The Pope Leo, he called for justice on 15th of June. And exactly 1 month after Yerota happened on June 13th, exactly 1 month, July 13th, Buhari died. Exactly 1 month after Yerota, Buhari died. Because it was too much in the sight of God. How can you come? These innocent people, butcher them, burn them alive, kill them, my kinsmen, my siblings. You kill them just like that. Why wouldn't God react immediately? God reacted, and exactly 1 month after that incident, Buhari died. And that was the only date that those guys did not strike any place in Yev Council or my council ward. Because even after Yerota, Fulanis keep striking every day, keep killing people every day. Even when the president visited on June 18th, that day they struck, 19th they struck, they continued killing. To the extent that they slaughtered my uncle, living news Anundu, the father of Andy Nuso. They slaughtered him in his farm on July 3rd while we were on July 4th while we were celebrating American Independence Day here. Only for me to leave venue of independence celebration and come back home and hear of the death of Livinus Anundu. After the rata had happened, after the president had visited and left. And these people continue killing. The only date they did not strike was on July 13 when the news of Buhari's death broke out. And another day they did not strike was when he was buried. Because all of them were in the forest watching the burial and paying homage to their enabler-in-chief. So may God give him the justice that he truly deserves, and we don't have anything to do with the afterlife. That one is left in the hands of our Creator and Maker. But may God give everybody the justice they deserve, and may those who were killed, all my kinsmen, my siblings in Yerota who were killed because of these people, may God place them before them on Judgment Day. May they place them side by side. May those kinsmen of mine be witnesses to what have happened. But we will never forget.
Good day to our viewers all over the world, and welcome back to Local Journal. Nigeria is in total mess now, and all we need to do now is to speak out and call on the international community to come and help us. Those speaking against the presence of the US Army in Nigeria do not love this country. They are doing that because of their religious affiliation and their sympathy towards these terrorists terrorizing Nigeria. So Trump needs to come into Nigeria. The American soldiers need to come into Nigeria to fix this country before it's too late. Don't mind or listen to all these conspiracy theorists that are saying that the US wants to come into Nigeria because of an ulterior motive. Don't just listen to them. Honestly, it pains me that we are in this state, and if nothing is done about the situation of this country, Nigeria might become a history in few years to come. This is my opinion on this. Kindly drop what you think about this in the comment section, and if today is your first time to visit our channel, please kindly like, share and subscribe to our channel.